And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 79. Well, we are back in our friendly confines here with the great Aerostar Janelle Monáe Prince painting behind me. And it feels good to be back in a comforting space. And another comforting space is in the interior of a Ford Aerostar. And Ford Aerostars is exactly what we're going to talk about here, of course, because this is Year of the Aerostar. So, enough blathering. Let's get right to it, shall we? Here we have a 1996 Ford Aerostar XLT minivan, listed for just $1,500 in Kingston, Pennsylvania. I like that name, Kingston. A lot of Kingstons out there in the world, and this one happens to be in Kingston, Pennsylvania. So, as you can see, a rare factory color for the Aerostar. This is a black Aerostar. I happen to love black Aerostars. I think it's maybe it's just because it's a rare color, but I don't think so. I wish they made more of them because I think it's a very striking, handsome, dashing.
The handsome, dashing Ford Aerostar
color on the Aerostar. You see a lot of white Aerostars, and you'd like to have that counterpoint and see more black Aerostars because those are the two sort of polarities of the color spectrum, I guess you would say. And technically, I know they're not colors; they're shades or whatever. But speaking of technically, I'm not too technical, so. But it in the same way, white is sort of this color by which you can sort of judge the design. I think so is black. Obviously, especially in the right light. I've always liked the black automobile. Black Corvettes look amazing. Black X19s, if you got X19s, also look very, very good. It's just a very striking color, and I think it suits the Aerostar very, very well. Another thing we'll notice is that it has these beautiful red and white stripes. And I have to give a shout out now to my buddy Coach Conrad, who has a beautiful Ford Aerostar that very much resembles this. Now, he is out in Arizona, I believe, and his Aerostar Martha has all sorts of sweet graphics and body kit stuff on it. But the bare bones version of that would sort of be this. So it's cool because I've actually seen another Aerostar like this and talked to the owner. And had conversations, so it's cool. So Coach Conrad, if you happen to be watching, maybe you got to come to Pennsylvania and buy this. It's Martha's long lost sibling or something like that. So I just thought that was kind of cool. You never quite know if these are factory decal jobs and stuff like that. I assume they are. In the 90s, that was a very popular thing. But it's cool to see how many different variations there are out there. It's amazing how many different variations of body color and then pinstriping and graphics. We saw that great one at Grizzly Garage that had the actual Aerostar script put into the sort of stripes on the side. And amazing just back in the day how many different graphics packages you could order, or how many they just offered on the lot, and you just don't see that as much today. So I think that's kind of cool. Everyone just gives it each one a little bit uniqueness, and you get to sort of compare and contrast them, and they become little Easter eggs. A black Aerostar with red and white pinstriping. Now that's only two I've ever seen in my entire Aerostar, sleuthing career. So very, very cool. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I had to get into the sort of aesthetics for a second, but let's back up about this vehicle. Driven 130,000 miles, so pretty low mileage all things considered. It's an automatic transmission. The exterior color actually says blue, which is funny because maybe this is a dark blue, but it certainly looks black to me. So, agree to disagree, I suppose. 15 mpg city, 21 highway, 17 combined. Seller's description. One of my favorite, as I always say, this is not only a commentary on Ford Aerostars, but also a commentary on the classified ads. And this has maybe one of my favorite classified ad tropes of all time. So I'll set that up for you. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. 1996 Ford Aerostar runs and drives good, throwing code for a Cadillac converter. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing this Aerostar needs to run is a Cadillac converter. So, if you convert it into a Cadillac, then it will pass emissions and get that inspection sticker. Incidentally, I would love to see, Cadillac's take on a minivan, a sleek, sophisticated aerodynamic minivan at that. But it's so funny to me that this continues to happen, and they even capitalized it, like it's like a brand or something. It says Cadillac converter, and maybe it's just a parlance that people use. Maybe they're trolling a little bit, but I don't think so. You see it often enough that it's like, I think maybe, and I'm not poking fun. I'm not putting myself on some sort of pedestal, because there's lots of words, all intents and purposes. Like a lot of people say all intensive purposes when it's all intents and purposes. But if you think about it, all intensive purposes kind of means the same thing. So there's lots of these little turns of phrases that we hear and never really see written down. And it's very easy to like mistake it. I mean, you go, there's lots of song lyrics that seem to have like they're saying something else. Jimi Hendrix, excuse me while I kiss this guy. So, neither here nor there, but the amount of times I see this, the Cadillac converter, is just so hilarious to me, because I myself am not, very mechanically inclined. I'm not some, professional mechanic by any stretch of the imagination, and I know it is a catalytic converter. So not to dwell on that too long, but when you see it written out, it's just so hilarious too. A Cadillac converter, hilarious. Okay, throwing a code for a Cadillac. That's the other thing. If it's throwing a code and you're looking on your little code reader or whatever, it doesn't say Cadillac converter on the code reader. And if you look one up, like you go to the parts store and you type in Cadillac converter, it's probably going to say, did you mean catalytic converter? But somehow, despite all that, it's made it through into the description of this Aerostar, and I absolutely love it. And as I always say about language, the only thing that matters about language is whether the point of what you're saying gets across. And I know what the point is. If I buy this Aerostar, I'm going to need to get a new Cadillac converter installed. So, I know that now. They're being transparent and upfront with what the vehicle has wrong with it. So that's, mission accomplished. So I may need one soon. But the other funny thing about this is I may need one soon, but they're selling the vehicle. So he or she might not need one soon. I may need one soon if I'm buying this Aerostar. So, I guess it all makes sense. Last note, no back seats. And of course, this is all complete one sentence, no punctuation whatsoever. So the actual sentence is, 96 Ford Aerostar runs and drives good, throwing code for a Cadillac converter. So I may need one soon, no back seats. Again, it's funny to me, but I'm a staunch advocate that all sort of like grammatical quote unquote rules that have put in place are not really valid. So maybe the joke's really on me for having this set of biases by which I say, well, that's not correct. But when you read it, it's funny, and I still get the point. I get the gist of it. I digress. Okay, so let's look at some more pictures of this beautiful Aerostar. The grille style is obviously from a 96, so that all checks out. Fantastic. Just again, another vehicle I forgot to mention that looks great in black, the Buick LeSabre. Now, these all happen to be lots of cars that I own, but the LeSabre, you see white a decent amount, but you see a lot of beiges, you see a lot of burgundies, some blues. They also made the 8th generation LeSabre, or 7th gen, I believe, LeSabre in a factory black, and it looks exquisite in black. It's very classy, like speaking of Cadillacs, you see a lot of Cadillacs in black, and it is just this very classy. It can be very classy and very sophisticated. It can also be like sort of sinister. Like a Cadillac XLR in black looks great. Now I'm thinking about Cadillacs. But I think the Aerostar looks fantastic in black. It's it's a very simple design, and it accentuates your angularity of your vehicle. Just fantastic. Now we do have some wonderful clear coat fade or some sort of rust coloration going on here. We have a little dent in the door, and the great thing about a black car is, looks like a factory roof rack there as well. The great thing about a black car is a lot of these older vehicles have steely wheels, and steely wheels are, you know, 99 times out of 100 they come black. You know, it's just like a black regular steel wheel. I love color matched wheels, like my 93 Aerostar has the green wheels on it now. um, or my Janky color scheme is yellow and orange. So on my old Ford Transit, which was yellow, I had orange wheels. My gold Fiat now has orange wheels. But I love a painted, my Buick has white wheels to match the white body color. I love a body matched or a body accentuated wheel. And if you have a black Aerostar, you've already, you know, checked that box right away just by default. You have these, you know, the black wheels along with the black body make it look, you know, just really stunning and really fantastic, and sort of gives it this monochromatic look. But then you have these real nice, you know, gray, white, and red pinstripes that just like sort of complete the package, and it looks excellent. Okay, moving on. Another shot here. Looks like you have a little basketball hoop and a dog. You know, one of my pet peeves is that I like to see the car in its entirety. When the photo is cropped, it just, you know, it's like a tease, and I want to see the whole thing in its unending glory. And we can't really see that here, but that's okay. It looks like your bumpers are intact, which is, you know, becoming a rare thing on Aerostars these days. So that alone is going to save you several $100s, and a lot of sort of searching through junkyards to try to find a bumper. Here we have the Pennsylvania registration. That matches up. Your obligatory shot of the odometer, which proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the mileage they've listed is actually accurate, which I appreciate. 130,014 miles. Again, you know, for a car that's this age, it's really not that many miles. Okay, beautiful tan interior. I do really like the tan interior on this. And what I love about it is that on your two-tone fabric seats, you have the burgundy red pinstriping. And that is, of course, awesome because that matches beautifully with the red pinstripe on the body of the vehicle. So we got some sort of continuity, as Clyde Frazier would say, going on. Also, I've noticed that what I really like about this van, crank windows. I think it's cool that, you know, at this time period, the mid 90s, a lot of cars were still offered with crank windows. You know, once you got into the 2000s, it became much rarer to get crank windows. Standard, usually, you know, crank windows almost became an option. It kind of became inverted, where it would come standard with power, and if you wanted crank, it was like probably a no cost, but like an option that you had to specify. And with these vehicles in older times, power windows were usually like an upgrade of some sort. I love a crank window. Crank window, of course, always good, just in case you drive off of a pier. Now we see the back. No seats, as they said in the description, but you know, without the seats in it, you just see how undulating and spacious the rear of the Aerostar is. And this is only a standard length model. This is not the extended model, and you still just see acres of you know, vastness with which you could, you know, do anything, just camp or take cargo, whatever you need. It's really a very, very spacious interior. We can see a nice view of these seats here. You know, these big sort of bubble one-piece integrated headrests with the plastic tubes in the middle. I was talking to someone recently. They were talking about the plastic tubes in the inside of the seat, which is a really nice touch. Just again, the Aerostar has so many elements to it that are unique, and you just don't see that often in other vehicles. And it's just such a sort of phenomenon that all these sort of design cues all came together in this one vehicle. It's not just the exterior design, it's all these little details on the interior, the seats, you know, the sort of color-coded power window and lock switches on the vehicles that had that. And it you know, that's why I think it really is a classic, because all these little details of this vehicle that you don't really see anymore, and you also don't really notice until you start to look closely and start to appreciate all these little details that the Aerostar has. And we'll bring it back to the front now. Looks like another basketball hoop, or maybe that's the same one. But really, really cool Aerostar. I think it's a great deal. $1,500. You know, I mean, a Cadillac converter is going to set you back quite a bit if you can't, you know, get that thing cleaned out. However, you know, you smack that down, and then, you know, seems like everything else is in functioning order. So for $1,500, running and driving car, you know, factory roof rack, be an excellent work vehicle, or just a fun vehicle. You know, take it for ice cream. Why not? So I really, boy, I took a little pause from Year of the Aerostar while I was doing, some of my other videos and stuff like that. And I was sort of busy with other ventures and whatnot. And all of a sudden, you just wait 4 or 5 days a week and you load up that Aerostar page and boom, you're hit with all these new Aerostars just in my little local area here. So, you don't realize, they sold over 2 million Aerostars, and you don't realize how big of a number that is until you just see Aerostars just over and over and over again. And granted, how many of these things were scrapped already, were put into junkyards, were off the road? These are just the ones that are left over, 30 some odd years later, 20 some, 30 some years later, depending on the year of the vehicle. And there's a lot of them still out there. And I just think that's really, really cool. And I think that because they are a van, because they have that air of practicality to them, I think that they will actually outrun and outlast a lot of sedans, and possibly even, older SUVs, because they're a little bit cheaper to maintain, parts are a little bit cheaper, and they're just the best bang for your buck for a capable vehicle that's able to haul around a bunch of stuff. So, just one of the many feathers in the Aerostar's cap. But we got a ton of cool Aerostars coming here in Year of the Aerostar. A lot of really good ones, and people have been sending them in. I appreciate that. Janky, thank you to everyone who sent them in. And for now, just, bask in the glory of this beautiful 96 Aerostar and, drink it in. So there you have it, okay? Really nice to be back. I'm going to do a nice little run of these here. Boy. I have this conversation with people. I just had a comment that I responded to, and it's like, I started watching this channel, the Triple F Collection. I mean, shout out to these dudes in Columbus, Ohio. Like, they have built a incredibly impressive collection of vehicles, but they're buying like the high end of the high end. Like, not just the Bugattis, but like the special order Bugattis that they only make a couple of, and the special order McLarens, the Speedtail, and the whatever. And a lot of these cars are $2-3 million a car, and I'm like, man, with that kind of money, I could go buy a couple of Corvettes, and then also buy 1,000 Aerostars, plus a barn to put them in. Like, I could build a whole museum for the Aerostar. So, it just boggles my mind when you think of it, the insane value for the money that the Aerostar brings, and that it really always has if you think about it. Now, you can't go 200 miles an hour in an Aerostar, I mean, in a stock one, but I mean, really, how much would it cost you to make a 200 mile an hour Aerostar? 80 grand, 100 grand, you put a large engine in there, you lower it, you make your brakes better, you put a capable transmission in there, maybe you have to do some aerodynamic stuff. Although with a 0.37 drag coefficient, I would say there's no reason why an Aerostar couldn't hit 200 miles an hour. So, even if you wanted to make an Aerostar that went 200 miles an hour, you could still do it for a fraction of the cost of what one of these, super high-end luxury premium limited edition sports cars could do. So that's my 2 cents, okay? But shout out to the Triple F Collection. It's pretty amazing what they've managed to pull together there. All right, there you have it. You can tell I'm very excited to be talking about Aerostars more regularly, and I hope you're excited to, take part in this grand adventure. Thank you to all the commenters and the new subscribers we've gotten. Can't thank you enough. Really appreciate it. Long live the Aerostar. We'll have another one coming soon, and until then, Janky.
One small step for man, one